I'm Tom Laux. Thanks for joining me on Council Preview. And it's that time already, and our council meeting is going to take place next Tuesday, November 12th, and I have our city administrator, Steve Barg, and we're going to go through the council agenda. So thanks for joining me.
Good to be here, Tom.
All right.
On this snowy day.
Yeah, it's already here. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't either.
Winter seems to come earlier every year.
It does. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, so I bet our street crew is already getting out there, and
they probably are
ready to go.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's talk about a new employee that has come aboard that's going to fill the shoes of Mary that has been here for quite some time under Public Works.
Yeah, and I think as we talked about this in a previous edition of this program, Tom, Mary Anderson had been here for I think more than 3 decades and done a great job for the city. There's going to be a little retirement gathering for her so people can wish her well and just thank her for all her service. But we have a new employee. His name is Cole Raber, and Cole comes to us from the Marshfield Clinic, where he's worked for about 4.5 years as a rehabilitation aide. He's also worked with the Department of Defense. He's got quite a background. He's been on board now with the city for 3 days only, and but he comes with a lot of excitement and enthusiasm, and I think he'll do good. He'll be one of the people you'll see when you come to City Hall at one of the front desk locations, and depending upon what you're looking for, he might be helping to serve your needs. So I just want you to look forward to that, to say hi to him when you're in the office, and it's good to have him with us. All
right, well, we'll see him then on Tuesday night for a brief introduction at the podium. Let's move right into consent agenda. There is a piece on here about purchasing some new dump trucks for the street department. Something to do with winter maintenance. We must need some new trucks.
Yeah, you know, and Dean Schiller, our street superintendent, I think you've seen him at previous meetings too, Tom. He's very thoughtful, very reasoned. He takes a look at the issues, what's best for the city in terms of future equipment and vehicles. So he looked at this and he said, well, you know, we really do need to get a couple of dump trucks, and we look at the budgetary needs. Can we afford 2 in 1 year? Well, we can't, so we're going to buy one year and one the other, but we're going to work it out with the company to try and do it kind of together in a sense. And but what he wanted to do is get not just dump trucks that served as dump trucks, but ones that we could put winter maintenance equipment on to do snow plowing. Dean is very much into the idea that we need dual purpose vehicles whenever possible. So he went out and took a look at what's out there and did a request for proposals back in September, and he got some proposals with some variations, and you see it in your packet that I gave you. At the end of the day, though, he's proposing 2 vehicles to be purchased for a total of roughly $600,000, and they come from, I believe it's Monroe Truck Equipment. And so we're excited about that. We're excited to get these vehicles and have them tailored to our needs. And again, the thing I really want to mention about this, and I heard this at Public Works the other night, really, really deeply involved in terms of making snow plowing as effective as and efficient as possible. Talking about changing the routes up a little bit and changing the, not the routes, but I mean the snow emergencies. When do we declare snow emergencies? Different levels of snow emergencies. So that tells us when we can be parked on the street or when we can't, and what we're all going to try and plow and on what timeline. All designed to try and get the word out to the public to know what to expect from the city. What can you expect from our road crews on days when we get big snowstorms? And certainly being able to plow better, being able to plow cul-de-sacs and streets better in general with this equipment is going to be a benefit.
Definitely. I see one of these, 21 years old.
Yeah, you know, I have 2 cars that are kind of old right now too, and you know, you look at it and you say, well, sometimes it's good to keep them running and save the money and make them last longer. Oftentimes a piece of equipment, Tom, will be like, well, this is going to be replaced or should be replaced in 10 years. Well, you use it, you maintain it, maybe you get 15 years out of it. So we've gotten more than our service time out of the units we're talking about. It will be good to get new, more modern equipment in place.
It definitely will, and it's, we do a lot of our own maintenance, which we have on staff at night, I believe, that helps out fix a lot of these. So that's a plus. So they last longer, I see. So
yep. And I want to give kudos right now in advance, because I know what they're going to go through in the next 4 months, to our road crew. People sometimes will complain and they'll say, gosh, my road wasn't plowed early enough or whatever. If they had any idea what these guys are going through, when they're out there, and the struggles they have. Sometimes people park on the street, so they have to go around them. Then they have to come back later when the cars have been moved and replow again to get it curb to curb. And they're out there at 2, 3, 4 in the morning. They're amazing, and Dean and his crew just do a fantastic job. So any way you can help them by observing some of these rules would be appreciated too.
Alrighty. Well, thank you for that. Well, let's talk about firearms. That was discussed for quite some time at the last council meeting, and that has to do with the little sign that we have posted on our door that says right now no fire alarms are allowed in City Hall or some of the other public buildings we have too.
Yeah, and I think you and I touched on this at a previous episode of this show, but this is a very controversial issue. I mean, it brings a lot of very strong feelings about, you turn on the news, the national news, on cable news networks and others, and you hear debates about the Second Amendment. What's being said here is we do have an ordinance from quite a while ago, and you're looking at it right now, that we do have the right to stop someone from coming into a public building with a firearm or dangerous weapon if we sign it with a 5x7 sign and has all the right information on it. The question is, do we want to do that? And nowadays, we know that concealed carry is out there, and people are in restaurants and stores and everywhere with the weapons, so the question is, why not? So at the last meeting, Tom, the council discussed this. They were down a couple people because we had not seated Adam Fisher yet, and we ought to mention again that Adam Fisher is now our new council person for District 7, and Tom Witzel had to leave the meeting early, so we only had 8 people. And at the end, somebody said, you know what, why don't we wait till all 10 of us are here to decide this important issue? But I did a survey of city staff, which you know because you probably saw my note, to see what the employees think about it who work in City Hall. And surprise, surprise, it's very evenly divided. Half of them believe that it would be fine to allow firearms and that type of thing in the building. The other half believe the signs ought to stay and the policy ought to remain in place. So it'll be an interesting issue to debate, and we'll see what the council wants to do on Tuesday night.
Yeah, and you don't really see people carry firearms at the grocery store. I never look. I never even thought about. I don't know if I've ever seen anybody in public at this point in time.
One of the council members talked to me about it and said, Steve, there are people in stores and places like that, you just don't know it because of the way they've got it concealed. And you're probably standing next to them in line at the checkout counter. And, I have concerns about safety in the building, and this doesn't mean there wouldn't be safety if we allowed those. But it really does come down to the idea that, number one, you can say, well, bad guys don't read signs. So if somebody's got ill will, they're going to come at us anyway. On the other hand, you could say that weapons being in a building can cause some other safety issues. So it's going to be up to the council to decide which way they want to go, Tom.
All right, well, we'll look forward to that on Tuesday. Let's talk about a property that has been used right now by Weinbrenner Shoe, and want to talk about this city-owned property that we own now.
Yeah, why does the city own a shoe factory? I know it'd be a long explanation, and I wasn't here, so I don't know how this came about. But in 1999, Tom, we entered into a 20-year lease with the Weinbrenner Shoe Company, and the idea was we wanted them to stay in town. We want them to grow and develop here and employ people in Marshfield. But the idea was that after they got done with the 20-year lease, they would have the opportunity to buy the facility for $400,000 or less if they could demonstrate that they'd put a lot of money into the building by improvements and major maintenance items. They have been paying lease every year for the space. Well, we talked to them at the end of this lease. Would you be interested in maybe looking at going to the industrial park or the business park? Because you could question whether a shoe factory belongs in your downtown. Downtowns are mainly supposed to be stores and retail, office buildings and stuff like that. And they did look at it, but ultimately they decided that they felt that staying in their current location was in their best interest. So they have indicated to us via letter that they want to execute at the end of the year a purchase of the property. And they will stay at the current location. So Josh Miller is just going to give an update. The council hasn't talked about this a lot. They might have some questions. At one time we were hoping to maybe extend the 2nd Street corridor to the west, possibly even having the shoe factory and the Public Works garage removed to other locations. But it looks like at least the shoe factory will be staying there for the foreseeable future.
Okay, well, that's a big building over there that
It is.
has a lot of stuff going on, a lot of workers doing stuff. So we'll get a little bit of
Yeah.
an update. I'm curious, and this was '99. I don't think anyone on the council here presently was there. I'm trying to do the math at this point, but maybe Tom Budke?
Tom Butke and Mike Fire came on at about the same time.
Yeah.
I think they're both hitting their 20-year mark.
Yeah.
Whether they were here when this lease was approved, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So, to a lot of the members of the council, the idea that we even own this building is kind of new to them.
Yeah.
And this didn't require, selling this building, Tom, didn't require the council's approval. It said in the lease, you may buy the building at the end of 20 years under paragraph 8. So it's not like we could say no.
Right.
We did encourage them to look at other ideas, but we're glad to have them in the community. They're a good employer, and happy that they're going to stay as a part of our city.
All right. Well, we can now talk about the community center and the library. That's been done for some time, but Dan Kneck, our public works director, and also does the building stuff here around the area, is going to give us an update if we made budget or not, right?
Yeah, Dan does an outstanding job of monitoring these projects and making sure we stay within budget. I don't think people realize that they hear the title Public Works Director, they think of streets and those kind of things, but Dan is a jack of all trades, and his project oversight skills are incredible. We went through this a couple months ago, if you remember, Tom, when Dan gave a report on the financial summary of the renovation of City Hall. And part of the reason we did that, and the reason we're doing this on Tuesday with the Library and Community Center, is there have been questions raised by some of the council members saying, we budget $7 million for this, or we budget $1 million for that. Do we know that we stayed within budget? Did it turn out over budget? And they want to know, and that's a good thing. And so his report, as you take a look at it, is going to show the highlights of how the project went down in terms of timeline. But it's ultimately going to show, as you see in that memo at the end, that we had budgeted a total of $9.7 million for this project, and yet the total expense was closer to 9.6. So if people say to the council members when they're out and about, hey, wait a minute, I think you spent more on that library and community center than you planned on. How do we know it didn't go over budget? We can tell them. We can show them all the detailed expenses that you're looking at for property acquisition, architectural services, construction, renovation of the old library to become a community center, and see that it came out to be within the total amount that the council had allocated, which is a good thing. And I think you know what a great improvement that building is.
Oh, definitely.
So,
and this is a great way to be open with our people that pay taxes, because these projects wouldn't happen if we didn't have some of that.
Yeah, I gave some kudos to Dan for his project oversight. A lot of other people were involved in this one. Justin Kasperson, the Public Works Director, our Finance Department and staff. But I also want to thank the Mayor and Council, because, to be honest with you, Tom, a couple of years ago, as the library project was going on, there were questions as to whether or not we were going to make the community center work budgetarily and financially. And there were thoughts about maybe we scale that back and just kind of leave it open for now. And the council had the foresight to say, no, let's do this right. We could get some good community uses in there, not just the seniors, but other tenants. Let's do the project the way we'd be proud of. And they did it, and we carried it out, and it came in as a successful project.
Oh, definitely. It's a great resource for not only seniors, but for the community-wide. They can rent those rooms at any time.
They can, and we get people who just want to have a meeting there. And now, of course, we have the ADRC. They're going to come on board now and do the meals. And that'll be good for people who not only want to have a good hot meal, but want to visit with people and have some good socializing. That building continues to get used more and more. And it's wonderful. It's great to see people in there having fun, having meetings, and just using the building.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, let's turn our attention over to a presentation that's going to be by the mayor, Mayor McManus, about TIF Districts, debt management. He must want to bring something up because of what happened earlier on with how TIFs have been handled.
Yeah, the mayor, if you think back to the budget meeting on October 29th, Tom, the mayor appears to be supportive of where we're heading, but he really wanted to take some time to dig into this. He's met with the finance director and me. He wants to understand some of the things about our debt from past years as well, and he wants to be able to explain to the council and the citizens, that we've looked into this, that we have found some things that we're dealing with properly, and that we're doing the right stuff. people do have questions. No one wants to see their taxes go up. No one wants to hear that there's issues with debt management, but they do want to hear that work has been done and that we're on the right track. And I think that's going to be the gist of the mayor's comments on Tuesday night. I don't think it's going to be a long presentation. I think he's probably going to talk for maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes, but he wants to clarify that the homework has been done, and I found a few things, but we're working on them.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to seeing what he has to say and in that area. I think our TIFs are doing well, though.
They are, and we had a conference call with Moody's when we had our bond rating recently, and they raised some questions about our finances, but we wanted to clarify to them that the TIF districts are doing wonderfully, and we're going to maybe close them out earlier than we're required to by law, and get those dollars back on the general tax rolls. Whether it's the industrial park, the business park downtown, you're absolutely right, Tom. Those TIF districts are performing very well.
Well, that's good news for us, especially thinking planning our future of the city here. It tells me that some of those businesses are doing well.
Oh, they are. They are. And we talk about the big ones like PCA, but dental crafters, and I could name many businesses that have located. Obviously, Prevention Genetics, a great high-tech firm in the business park, that are doing wonderfully. And by closing out districts early, Tom, that's going to allow us to possibly open up new districts as we look at opportunities to fund improvements. We've lost a few businesses lately, no fault of our own, but some of those facilities, maybe if we need to create new districts to help find people to do renovation, we have capacity for that because of the success that we've had with our TIFs.
Yeah, and that's really, development services, their big thing is working with this is our way to work with local businesses.
Oh, absolutely.
A lot of times they say there's a difference, and this is how we are able to get new businesses in the area by providing this land, these districts.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Yeah, and Josh Miller and his staff do an excellent job of doing that. I know sometimes people will say to me, well, what are we doing about this? What are we doing about that? Are we trying to get more businesses in the mall? Are we trying to find somebody for the Shopco site? Please know that stuff is going on all the time. We're working with any opportunities we have to try and see if we can bring more commerce and industry to Marshfield.
Definitely. All right, well, that leads us right into a closed session item. They're listed here, but we can't get into any of the specifics. But I'll have you just mention what you can.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on this. Obviously, I'm not talking about the proposed agreement. The terms of that are going into closed session, but I wanted people to know something that we have had now for a couple of years, an agreement with the Marshfield Clinic, actually it's MCHS Inc., to provide certain transport services to them. So, we maybe get a call and somebody is out in the area, let's say it's in Colby or wherever, and they're going to need to be transported to a facility such as Madison or somewhere else, but they need medical treatment. They need to have people in that ambulance that are able to provide the services needed en route. Well, we've got an agreement that says we can do those transports and get paid for them, and it works well for us. It works well for the clinic because this is a need that they have had since Spirit, moved on. So. We're talking about extending those agreements, maybe lengthening them a little bit, changing the terms and conditions a bit. But I just want people to know that this is what's happening so that they know that we are trying to work with businesses, and in this case with our largest employer, to try and promote health care as well as serve the public's safety.
All right, sounds good. Well, we went through quite a bit of stuff. Council meeting 6 p.m. this Tuesday. We'll cover the things that we spoke about, and this agenda will be out Friday on our website for people if they'd like to see it, but we give a little bit of a sneak preview in this program.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. And as always, people can certainly come to the meeting and just listen. That's good to learn. But they can also go up front under public comment and just say anything that they need to share. And I think we talk about this a lot, but it doesn't have to be on the agenda. But if you've got a concern or a question or an idea, that's the opportunity when you can share it with our elected officials.
You bet. All right. Thanks again, Steve, so much for coming. Every 2 weeks we get to sit down and talk about what's happening for the council, and I think it helps our residents see and be a little bit better prepared on what the council is going to discuss. So.
Thanks, Tom, and thanks to you and David for all the hard work you're doing to get the word out to the community. Again, we've talked about before through social media, website, cable TV, whatever it is. It's greatly appreciated.
All right. Well, thanks, Steve. And I want to thank you, our viewers, watching us here on our city channel, channel 991. You can catch us also on our YouTube channel and snippets from our Facebook page. Again, if you have any questions, give me a call, 715-486-2070. Glad to help. Thanks for watching us on Council Preview.